Earlier this year on my podcast, I got to interview Dr. John Parker, who is the author of a great leadership book called The Driving Force. Super comprehensive in all the pieces it dives into. I really enjoyed that this was a synthesis of many things. Feel free to listen to the podcast now. I want to share with you one specific resource that is freely available and accessible that Dr. Parker has shared with folks who are interested. Now, this is a tool to help you think about your school's policies and do they need a change. And so you can kind of give yourself a self-assessment, and then there's a scoring piece at the bottom that will help you determine, like, yeah, these need a vast overhaul, these are pretty good, or these need a little bit of work. So let's get to it. Here is the resource. As I mentioned before, this is from Be the Driving Force at Solution Tree Press. So Dr. John Parker shares this reproducible with us, really a survey for specifically looking at school policies and procedures. And as I mentioned, there's a very comprehensive, culturally responsive, just justice-centered approach to this book. And so you can see that just in all of the pieces that are part of the survey. So first we want to name that we have an agreement scale here. For each item, what you're doing is you are describing the way that you approach school policies and procedures. So there's a lot of I here, right? This is a very self-reflective piece. So I ensure, for example, that revised policies and procedures are responsive to the unique needs of historically marginalized students. And in each piece, it kind of goes through, so LGBTQ plus students, right? Students living in economic poverty, making sure there is equity as being promoted, particularly looking at the impact and academic success of Black and Brown students and historically marginalized students based on policy, students with disabilities, experienced trauma. And then there's a lot of alignment pieces, so it aligns with the values and mission, thinking about financial impact of any policy changes, making sure that they're sustainable and adaptable, making sure that we're considering AP classes as well and access to AP classes, as well as, right, this is making sure they have access, but then making sure that your school supports them once they are in AP classes. Survey results are here, and so you can kind of see what the scores would correspond to. I think this is going to be a really helpful tool for folks to be able to assess your individual leadership and also just kind of what's happening with your school. I love the self-reflective nature of Dr. Parker's survey. So you can do this immediately. That's the gift. You can do this right now based on your perspective. Now, the other part of this that I always want to bring to light is the student perspectives and family perspectives. And so when we think about how to include more voices, I want to specifically give you a tool geared for students. And this is the student leadership capacity building scale, set of scales that I have built as part of my dissertation work. And so I'm going to give that to you. A link is in the description if you want to grab it, make a copy, edit it, and personalize that introduction for your own students. A little bit of a longer kind of give it out, collect it back process than just doing a quick self-assessment, but really powerful in terms of what are all the policies and structures and what's the impact that it has on students. So feel free to grab that, and good luck.